Come over here. Come over here. Put your feet together. Get relaxed. Now you bring the ball back. You bring the ball back like... And, anyway, I had fun, you know. I had a lot of fun.
Oh, Axel, so did I.
How did John Cassavetes' unwavering commitment to capturing raw, unfiltered human emotion revolutionize independent cinema, even as our ever-evolving film industry continually shifts? John Cassavetes, born on December 9, 1929 in New York City, was a groundbreaking filmmaker and actor known for his innovative approach to cinema. Raised in a working-class family, Cassavetes studied at the New York School of Performing Arts, where he honed his craft. His early career saw him performing in television and theater, but it was his work in film that would define his legacy. Cassavetes married actress Gena Rowlands in 1954, and their partnership was both personal and professional. The couple collaborated on several films, including A Woman Under the Influence and Husbands, which showcased Rowlands' remarkable acting talent and Cassavetes' unique directorial vision. Their relationship was a cornerstone of his work, with Rowlands often portraying complex female characters. Despite his critical acclaim, Cassavetes faced financial struggles throughout his career. He was known for financing his films independently, often using his own resources to bring his vision to life. Cassavetes passed away on February 3, 1989, leaving behind a legacy of films that continue to influence filmmakers and captivate audiences with their raw, emotional depth. His work remains a testament to his dedication to authentic storytelling. In an early scene from John Cassavetes' brilliant 1974 film A Woman Under the Influence, Peter Faulk's character, Nick, a construction foreman, is persuaded by his crew to bring them to his house for lunch after a grueling night of work. The previous evening, a water main had burst downtown, forcing his team to work throughout the night without prior notice. When Nick arrives home, his wife Mabel, portrayed by Cassavetes' real-life wife Gena Rowlands, seems to be behaving strangely. Nick had not given her any warning, and now over a dozen men are unexpectedly in her home, looking forward to a hot meal. One might expect Mabel to be upset by this sudden intrusion, but instead she remains eerily calm, almost as if in a trance. Slowly, Mabel gets up from her bed and greets the men with hugs and light-hearted jokes. She playfully scolds one of them for tracking mud into her house. However, as the meal progresses, Mabel's behavior becomes increasingly erratic, culminating in Nick feeling compelled to intervene, embarrassed by her actions. He abruptly declares, "All right, everybody's tired, that's enough. Come on, you want to dance?" Working outside the Hollywood studio system and often using personal funds, like mortgaging their own home, Gena Rowlands and John Cassavetes produced a series of independent films from the 1950s to the 1980s that include some of the most unsettling, uncomfortable, and emotionally intense scenes in American cinema. While A Woman Under the Influence achieved critical acclaim and earned Rowlands an Oscar nomination for Best Actress, as well as a Best Director nomination for Cassavetes, their films rarely found financial success at the box office. However, commercial success was never the primary aim for Cassavetes and Rowlands. John took on roles in major studio films, such as Roman Polanski's Rosemary's Baby and Brian De Palma's The Fury, solely to fund his independent projects. In many ways, the films of Cassavetes and Rowlands are so intimate in their casting, locations, and crews that they could almost be considered home movies. Yet, labeling them as such would misrepresent the depth and craftsmanship behind their work. Despite their lack of commercial success, actors, writers, and directors frequently regard the films of Cassavetes and Rowlands as some of the finest and most influential in American independent cinema. Renowned filmmakers like Martin Scorsese, Jean-Luc Godard, Mike Leigh, Noah Baumbach, Wes Anderson, Paul Thomas Anderson, Lars von Trier, and the Safdie brothers have all cited Cassavetes as an influence at various points in their careers. The cinema verite style most commonly associated with Cassavetes has even permeated mainstream cinema, particularly in the action genre, where franchises like The Bourne Identity and The Hunger Games employ this technique to heighten the realism of their intense fight sequences. While the use of handheld cameras is the most immediate visual marker of Cassavetes' work, his style also extends to his approach to composition and editing. His films often eschew traditional coverage, instead favoring a mix of extreme close-ups and wide shots. His compositions rarely adhere to formal rules, such as the rule of thirds or leading lines, which has led some critics to label his work as artless or mistakenly view it as hastily assembled or improvised. It's crucial to recognize that Cassavetes didn't invent these methods, but rather combined them to establish a distinct aesthetic that can be identified as his signature style, much like Wes Anderson, who didn't invent symmetrical framing or vibrant color schemes, but is known for his unique application of these techniques. These two weapons in his arsenal still point toward his main visual aesthetic. Cassavetes' use of handheld cameras, extended scenes of conversation, and careful attention to realistic, clipped, or repetitive dialogue all stand out against the backdrop of studio films from this era. When compared to the bloated historical and romantic epics of the 60s, like Cleopatra, The Sound of Music, Dr. Dolittle, and My Fair Lady, the films of Cassavetes and Rollins vibrate with transgressive visual language and emotional intimacy. Despite their singular style, Cassavetes and Rollins were able to create a wide variety of movies in many different genres, from family dramas to crime noirs to screwball comedies. What sets these films apart from many of Cassavetes' filmmaking contemporaries is their raw emotionality, the seeming disregard for what's cool or popular, and the continued central focus on deeply flawed characters. Scenes in John Cassavetes' films tend to go on much longer than audiences are used to, often pushing the emotional boundaries and testing the patience of viewers. Some critics, most notably the New Yorker's legendary film critic Pauline Kael, felt that Cassavetes was mean-spirited as a storyteller and inconsistent as a filmmaker. In her review of A Woman Under the Influence, Kael remarked, "Cassavetes' special talent is for showing intense suffering from nameless causes. He gives us an actor's view of human misery. It comes out as metaphysical realism. We see the tensions and the power plays, but never know the why of anything." Cassavetes and Rollins were never afraid to present the audience with complex, confusing, and sometimes infuriating characters filled with hypocrisy, anger, and sadness. The issue many contemporary critics had with their work was their refusal to specifically explain the why behind these behaviors. John Cassavetes was known for creating characters with profound psychological depth, often exploring the complexities of their inner lives with an unflinching eye. His films focused on the emotional and mental struggles of his characters, delving into their fears, desires, and insecurities. Cassavetes' storytelling was marked by an emphasis on character development over plot, allowing the audience to intimately understand the motivations driving each individual. Films like Love Streams, 1984, and Opening Night, 1977, showcased characters grappling with personal crises, identity, and existential angst. The psychological realism in Cassavetes' work was enhanced by his collaborative approach with actors, encouraging them to draw from their own experiences to bring authenticity to their roles. His ability to portray flawed, complex individuals who resonate with viewers on a personal level set a new standard for character-driven storytelling. Cassavetes' focus on psychological depth has left a lasting impact on cinema, influencing how filmmakers approach character portrayal and narrative complexity. John Cassavetes had a significant impact on the development and popularization of method acting, particularly through his emphasis on emotional authenticity and improvisation. His directorial style encouraged actors to fully inhabit their characters, often blurring the lines between performance and reality. Cassavetes believed in creating a safe environment for actors to explore deep, often uncomfortable emotions, pushing them to deliver performances that felt genuine and spontaneous. This approach aligned closely with the principles of method acting, which emphasize personal connection to a character's experiences. In films like Faces, 1968, and Love Streams, 1984, Cassavetes' focus on raw, unscripted moments allowed actors to tap into their emotional core, resulting in powerful and memorable performances. His influence on method acting extended beyond his films, impacting how actors approach their craft in both theater and cinema. Cassavetes' commitment to emotional truth has left a lasting legacy, encouraging actors to dig deeper into their roles and prioritize authenticity over technical precision. A common misconception about these films is that they were largely improvised, both in plot and character, as well as in their shooting and staging. However, that's not true. Cassavetes scripted nearly every moment and every line of dialogue in his films. Through careful rehearsal and blocking, he and his actors created films that felt improvised but actually told structured, layered stories. In the writing process, Cassavetes would sometimes explore scenes through improvisation, but during the actual production, everything was written down. Take, for example, this scene from A Woman Under the Influence. I'd be home tonight. I promised her that this night was going to be a love night, a special night. I didn't know this thing was going to happen. What am I saying? In the middle of the night. But you didn't even call her. I can't call her. I'm not gonna call her. She's already sent the kids to her mother's. She'll climb the walls and break dishes, scream. Mabel's a delicate, sensitive woman. Mabel's not crazy. She's unusual, she's not crazy, so don't say she's crazy. The collaborations between John Cassavetes and actor Peter Faulk are legendary, resulting in some of the most compelling performances in both of their careers. Their partnership began with Husbands, 1970, a film exploring the complexities of male friendship and grief. Faulk's naturalistic acting style meshed perfectly with Cassavetes' preference for raw, unfiltered performances, leading to a portrayal that was both emotionally resonant and authentic. They worked together again in A Woman Under the Influence, 1974, where Faulk played a working-class man dealing with his wife's mental health issues. Their chemistry and mutual understanding allowed them to bring a profound depth to their roles, creating characters that were deeply flawed, yet relatable. Cassavetes and Faulk also teamed up in Mikey and Nicky, 1976, further showcasing their ability to explore complex relationships. Faulk's performances under Cassavetes' direction are considered some of his best work, demonstrating the power of collaborative synergy in filmmaking. This partnership left a lasting impact on cinema, inspiring other filmmakers to prioritize emotional honesty and genuine character interactions in their work. Without saying it outright, Roland's performance communicates a stunted emotional intelligence and an inability to regulate internal conflict. Mabel is a broken person, and broken people don't always know how to identify the problem or fix it. The realism in Roland's portrayal creates unease for audiences. Should she be responsible for children? Should she be left alone in her home? What's going to happen to her, and who has her best interests in mind? Nick is confused about Mabel's behavior and unsure how to help her. In 1974, mental illness was far more stigmatized than it is today, and conversations around mental health were both less sensitive and less informed. A Woman Under the Influence, while undeniably a product of its era, offers a surprisingly nuanced portrayal of Mabel's mental illness. After her disappointment over Nick canceling their date, Mabel leaves the house for a bar, where she encounters a man whose inscrutable character intrigues both her and the audience. Although she hesitantly allows him to come to her house, his advances become increasingly aggressive. Once there, despite her clear reluctance, he forces himself on her. The next morning, Mabel is disoriented to find this man in her house, almost as if she doesn't recall the previous night. Her confusion is compounded when she mistakenly calls him by her husband's name, Nick, intensifying viewers' concerns about her mental stability. The line between fiction and reality blurs for Mabel, creating a world for her that starkly contrasts with the one we experience alongside her. Nick, though aware of Mabel's sensitivities, struggles to address her issues clearly. He fluctuates between treating her with childlike tenderness and perceiving her as a threat to the family. When Nick finally comes home for dinner with his colleagues, Mabel has completely forgotten about the man from the bar and is preoccupied with finding her children, who are staying with her mother. By the time Nick finds her, she is sitting, staring blankly. The first act of the film continually prompts the audience to question Mabel's condition. What exactly is her mental illness? The film does not provide direct answers, focusing instead on how untreated and misunderstood mental illness impacts the entire family unit. During dinner, Mabel entertains Nick's guests, and the scene's excruciating tension builds as conversations veer into unexpected directions. The prolonged discomfort creates an atmosphere ripe for an emotional outburst. Cassavetes' films are known for their abrasive and unconventional style. You become captivated by the characters, sharing in their laughter and understanding their charm. But you are also exposed to their most vulnerable and humiliating moments. His films often mirror the emotional intensity of Ingmar Bergman's work, characterized by conversation, argument, and emotional vulnerability. But Cassavetes brings a raw, untamed quality to his storytelling. His films can make you want to look away, or even turn them off to escape the uncomfortable emotions they evoke, highlighting their visceral and often uncomfortable honesty. A Woman Under the Influence compels viewers to grapple with intense emotions, provoking both frustration and empathy toward its characters. The film's relentless emotional intensity can leave even the most empathetic viewers drained. For instance, when Harold Jensen brings his children for a playdate with Mabel's kids, Mabel's erratic behavior alarms him, leading him to stay and observe her actions closely. His concern grows, manifesting in his apprehension about the safety of the children and the neighborhood. When Nick arrives home and discovers Mr. Jensen in the bedroom with Mabel, the situation escalates into a confrontation. Nick is bewildered and overwhelmed by Mabel's behavior, leading him to call a doctor in desperation. Cassavetes never allows the audience to find solace. Instead, he immerses viewers in a state of discomfort, akin to witnessing a friend's parents argue an experience that's both unsettling and captivating. Cassavetes invites viewers into personal spaces, exposing the raw, unfiltered disintegration of families and relationships. Scenes persist longer than expected, delving deeper into despair and leaving viewers feeling trapped and compelled to observe. Jenna Rowland's portrayal of Mabel is justly celebrated as one of the most profound in American cinema, with Peter Faulk's performance equally critical. Faulk's character loves Mabel but is simultaneously consumed by rage and shame, resulting in volatile and destructive behavior. As Mabel is institutionalized, the film offers no easy explanations for her condition, reflecting the bewildering reality of mental illness. When Mabel is absent, Nick's instability becomes evident. He injures an employee at work and allows his children to drink excessively. His behavior at Mabel's welcome home party mirrors her erratic actions. Cassavetes and Rowland's approach deliberately unsettles the audience, ensuring that no one enjoys or fully comprehends the unfolding events. The handheld camera work keeps pace with the chaotic scenes, and each performance is infused with a unique tone, making arguments and conversations feel vivid and authentic. Unlike directors such as Tim Burton or Wes Anderson, whose films often maintain a consistent style, Cassavetes' films allow actors to bring their individual sensibilities to their roles, enhancing the realism of the narrative. Peter Faulk is the explosive figure in a revenge drama, while Rowland's embodies the meek wife of a domestic drama. Catherine Cassavetes' portrayal evokes the venomous villainy of film noir, but her performance, alongside the film's direction, transcends specific genres, presenting a raw, immediate sense of reality. Nick's ineptitude as a father is starkly revealed during a beach outing, where his attempt to create a fun memory for his children results in frustration and discord. When Mabel returns after her institutionalization, the film's visual language shifts dramatically. The camera remains closely focused on Mabel, who seems emotionally hollowed by her experience. Dialogue loses its significance as Roland's expressive eyes convey the depth of Mabel's heartbreak and the reality of her situation. Her children's innocent questions amplify Mabel's sorrow, underscoring the profound impact of her ordeal on her life and family. Now at the same age as their parents were during their childhood, they lack the pride in their homes or families and feel they haven't matured into the middle-aged individuals they anticipated. Instead, they are trapped by societal expectations of masculinity and the legacy of their fathers, without the tools or opportunities to process their emotions or develop their internal lives. Their childhood games and behaviors are all they have left. Though the audience never meets the deceased friend, Stuart, they glean that he was as immature and childlike as the three protagonists. The only glimpse of Stuart while alive is in the opening shots, where snapshots from a pool party reveal the men repeatedly flexing their biceps in various poses. Husbands explores the emotional fragility of masculinity and the resistance men have to showing vulnerability. The privileges these men enjoy shield them from consequences, leaving them unchecked and unchallenged by those around them. The film can be read as a comedic romp or as a cautionary tale about the extremes some men will go to reconcile their behavior with conservative beliefs. If you're intrigued by films with unlikable characters, Husbands will not disappoint. The three protagonists are among the most annoying and selfish characters ever depicted on screen. Misogynistic, brutish, rude, and utterly lacking in remorse or responsibility. Their actions push the boundaries of acceptability, making the film a relentless examination of their egregious behavior. Why would anyone watch it? Identifying the appeal of Husbands can be challenging, but part of its allure lies in its demanding nature. If you've seen the movie, you might agree that the early singing dinner scene feels like an endurance test. This 22-minute sequence serves as a trial, akin to reading the Proteus chapter of James Joyce's Ulysses, or the opening pages of William H. Gass's The Tunnel. It pushes your limits of what entertainment or art can be, questioning your tolerance for discomfort. If you find such challenges appealing, Husbands might be worth seeking out. It tests your endurance with its unflinching portrayal of human misery. The scene features over a dozen people singing at a restaurant table, interrupted by the drunken protagonists. The length and intensity of this scene provoke disbelief and discomfort, forcing you to confront the character's emotional depravity. The movie doesn't end with this dinner scene. It continues into a restaurant bathroom where the protagonists engage in 30 more minutes of screaming, singing, fighting, and vomiting. The film then transitions to Harry's home, where a senseless fight with his wife leads to more violence. The narrative takes an abrupt turn as the characters travel to London, leaving behind the grim events of the night. A Woman Under the Influence explores the darkest aspects of a working-class family, revealing the private struggles that often remain hidden. Its raw, documentary-style approach contrasts sharply with the unrelenting depravity of Husbands, exposing how men can become consumed by their own lack of accountability. John Cassavetes' films challenge conventional cinematic norms, refusing to soften their impact with humor or apologies. This approach, while not financially successful in his lifetime, now stands as a testament to his ability to capture honest portrayals of gender expectations and social norms. Although Cassavetes didn't invent confrontational cinema or documentary-style filmmaking, he played a crucial role in integrating these elements into fictional narratives. Similar themes can be seen in the works of the Mayles brothers and contemporary filmmakers like Noah Baumbach, Lars von Trier, and Thomas Vinterberg, who have all drawn inspiration from Cassavetes' approach. Films like The Celebration and The Idiots echo his style with their raw and unsettling portrayals. Yet, despite the comparisons, none quite match the impact of A Woman Under the Influence, arguably a masterpiece of Cassavetes' collaboration with his creative partner. Husbands and A Woman Under the Influence both delve into the depths of human dysfunction, exposing toxic masculinity and its consequences. While Cassavetes' films confront uncomfortable truths, they ultimately offer a glimmer of hope, suggesting that, despite their flaws, the characters are capable of love and redemption.